If you're looking like in the next 6 to 12 months to buy your own dream home, then this is for you. So I'm going to tell you my own little manifestation story about manifesting my dream home, because I have manifested everything and dream home is one of them. So when I started in a law firm in 2008, I lived in an apartment in Sandymount. It was St. Catherine's Court, and it was just off the Strand. And I was living there with a friend of mine who also worked in a law firm, and her parents owned the apartment. And every day I would leave the apartment and I would walk to work, which was in Dublin, in Grand Canal Dock. And I would say to myself, someday I'm going to live in Sandymount, someday. But I knew that it wasn't going to happen anytime soon, because 2008, I had just started my career as a lawyer. Well, actually, I was a paralegal. I started at the bottom. And so I knew it was like a far out sort of thing. But I always wanted to live in Sandymount. It was like the place that I wanted to be. And I was familiar with it. I liked it. It was close to my work. It's also close enough to walk in the city. We never take our car out. So roll on to when I finally meet my husband, and we're living in an apartment on Rings End Road, and I get pregnant for the first time. And I remember saying to him, we need to get a house because I'm not living in this apartment when we have a baby. It was a tiny, tiny apartment. And there were steps all the way up to the apartment. So like if, with the baby and a buggy and stuff, you had to drag everything up. And I was like, I'm not living here and we need to buy a house and yada, 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 all of that. And then I had a miscarriage. And I remember thinking, oh my God, like I would actually live in a shoebox. It just brought back so much perspective of what's really, really important. But of course, I know time moves on, and we did need a house, and we did need to start thinking about buying a house. So my husband was like, we are going to buy a turnkey house. That's what I want. I want to move into a house that's completely done. And I had the opposite of opinion, but I was like going along with it. I wanted to buy a house where we had to renovate and I could put my own little stamp on it. So we said that we were going to look in certain areas that were kind of close enough to our work, both of our work, that we could still walk, and close enough to his football and stuff like that. And so it was like Dublin 2, 4, 6 kind of. So we start bidding on houses, and we are just getting outbid constantly. Or we find a house, and I still had in the back of my mind that I wanted to be in Sandymount, but I was okay with being in somewhere else like that was still close to work and stuff. And we just kept getting outbid. And this was like in 2016, 17. We were 3 years looking for a house. I think our friends were like, are you guys serious? Like, what the hell is going on? But it was just challenging. It was just really challenging. And then we there was a house in Rathmines, and we bid on it. And I remember they were like, I was like, this is our house. We're going to get this house. I really kind of believed. And then what happened? They pulled the house from the market, and I was so disappointed. But I look back now and I'm like, thank God we didn't get that house. Just for so many reasons. It was definitely not the perfect house. So I always say, if you're searching for a house and you don't get it, just tell yourself it's this or something better. So then what happens was I tell my husband, oh, there's a house that's come up in Sandymount, but it's not turnkey, but please, can we go and view it? And he was like, fine. Okay. So we went to view it, and it was just like, it needed a lot of work. And we went upstairs and we looked out the back window, and we could see the Aviva Stadium. And if you know my husband, he is a mad soccer football fan. So he saw the Aviva Stadium and was like, oh, maybe we could do a house that we need to renovate. So there was no bids on the house. There was actually no bids on the house. So they dropped the price of the house, right? And the minute we put a bid on the house, all of a sudden there was another bidder. And I was like, oh, I'd love to get this house and renovate it and all that. And so then, of course, started a bidding war between us and another buyer. And we ended up going above even the initial asking price. And finally, one day, I was like, I really want this house. I really want it. And I just said to my husband, that's it. This has got to be our last bid. And like, we weren't going up in increments of 1K. It was like increments of 5K. So it was insane sort of stuff. And so I just said to my husband, I remember sitting down and talking to him and being like, that's it. Like, this has to be our last bid. We just need to let this house go because, like, we're going to get into a situation where it's way out of our means. And we don't want that either, right? And he was like, I can't believe you're saying this because, as you know, he always says to me, you're talented at spending money. And I will always push the boundaries. Because I'm like, money will come. But I knew that this was the time to stop. So I let the house go. And I was like, okay, I think this is our final bid. The other couple are going to get it now. And I'm letting it go. And the next day we found out that it was our house. But I really, really believe, and it was in Sandymount. So I used to say, someday I'm going to live in Sandymount. And now I've just bought a house in Sandymount that we have to renovate exactly what I wanted. And it's not what my husband wanted because he wanted a turnkey home. But I always say my manifestation powers are so strong. They always surpass his, right? So we ended up getting the house. But a couple of lessons that I learned there was, number one, I was open to living in other places. Now, they still were relatively, close to what I wanted, but like it wasn't just Sandymount that I was looking at this particular area. I was open to other areas. I was open to listening to him saying, okay, let's get a turnkey home, even though I wanted to renovate my own home and put a stamp on it. And ultimately, the biggest lesson in manifestation is letting go. And knowing that if this house you don't get it for whatever reason because, somebody outbids you or they pull it off the market or you just can't afford it, it's not your home. And I would always recommend never, ever looking at a specific house and saying, that's my home, because you have to be open to what the universe is going to bring you. Like, you might want a specific area, but if you say it has to be this house on this street, that's too specific. There's only one of them. And that might not be your house. And you're limiting the universe, call it what you want, to that specific place.